Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with Fanvil. Today's host is our good friend and business partner, Mr. Tommy Lee. He is Fanvil's Vice President of Sales in North America, and he'll be presenting today. If anyone has any questions, please submit them in the question box so Tommy can answer them at the end of today's presentation. Tommy, thank you so much for being with us today. Looking forward to what you have to share. I am finished for now. Please go ahead and take it on over.
Thank you, Julie, for the great introduction. Welcome everybody who can join us, whether you're doing it live or remotely. I just have a really nice brief presentation to share with you. Contrary to where myself and Julie live, where gas prices are well above $5, approaching $6 per gallon for regular unleaded, it's absolutely nuts out there. So I think what's a nice theme is, we all have to carry on with business, and if your business requires deployment of endpoints, this is a great idea to kind of let you know what type of promotions that we're actually having, so that contrary to all the inflation of prices of even just moving around or even just eating out every now and then, it's become quite a thing. And I want to sort of reverse that a little bit by just sharing some of the promotions that we have with our channel. Microcom has been with us for many years, and what I want to do to all the associated partners is provide my contact. Of course, Julie and David as well, just to let you be aware of those things that maybe aren't done, because on a day-to-day basis, it's very difficult to look at some of the details, and some of the small details like registering sites and all these type of things, projects, can save you a lot of money at the bottom line. So without that said, I'll go ahead and move on and kind of share this thing with you, but hopefully it could be a very fruitful few minutes that you'll set aside to watch this. What I'm going to do is, I can't assume that everybody out there is familiar with Fanvil. Most of you are, but many of you aren't, and I'll just put aside 1 or 2 slides just to kind of go over what it is, what we do, and that'll allow the newcomers to really focus in on who we are as a company, what we do, and then focus in on some of the promotions and the rebates that we actually have, so that you're armed to really, reverse the trend of having, money flying out of your wallets and purses, and hopefully get some of that back to you while you're doing day-to-day business. Okay, so I'm just going to focus in on the product differentiation and the channel differentiation moving forward, so that you know how to apply. And again, I'm here based in the States. So is Julie, and if you have any questions whatsoever, because we're not the only bowling pin you try to juggle in the air, just give us a call and we'll be more than happy to address and walk you through any of the things happening. And so we'll try to make this a simple walk through the park. With that said, let me just go ahead and just kind of try and speak to just those who are new to Fanvil. Fanvil has been around since 2002, so we really passed our 21st year in business, and business is constantly growing. We have our own factories, both in and as well as outside of China, depending on what type of projects you go ahead and lead into. But the real key thing that we're talking here is that we're a global channel-based sale company, so that we don't necessarily have warehouses that are built throughout the world, but we work through our channel partners that carry our inventory and is capable of providing that, hopefully at a real-time basis within your specific region, so that you don't have to wait days or spend twice as much in having shipping costs going to you. Besides doing that, another differentiator we have is that Fanvil has live support. Not only me, which I can dive into a little bit on the technical side or even on the commercial side, we actually have live factory support that's based on the East Coast time frame, so that if you have really technical issues and are concerned about merging into a brand new brand, we can go ahead and arrange some help with you in kind of getting through. If you're already experienced in going through deploying endpoints, the transition should be a piece of cake. But for those that are brand new, we have that support that'll allow you to go ahead and do that without, giving you all the support that's necessary for a successful transition. That's it from a company perspective, and I'm just going to spend a minute or two just going over the product line. Obviously, on the top, we have our SIP business phones, and the SIP business phones, one of our core things is providing commercial phones for business, but we also have a sideline as well on providing SIP endpoints to the hospitality world as well. One of the key themes that all of our devices do here is that all of these interfaces with SIP. And what is SIP? SIP is nothing more than an open standard by which everyone is going back on their POTS, which is the classic two-line phones, going into a brand new internet-based system. And fortunately, the really good standardization that's being adopted both in business, hospitals, and residences is going through a SIP interface, both that are hosted in the cloud or in some cases hosted even on-prem. And all these devices really serve as the interface between that SIP interface as well as to what the human touches. So very often it could be telephones, either in hospitality, business phones, or even in security, where you can go ahead and have access points that provide, security access on the outdoor here or indoor stations here. We also deal with public broadcasting as well, so that we understand paging is another way that you can go ahead and communicate, and we'll go ahead and provide endpoints for that as well. Linkville. Some of you may have heard of Linkville. That is really a sub-brand of Fanvil, because one segment that Fanvil is actually approaching is expanding our wireless solutions. And one of the big wireless introductions that we have is really a portable-based Wi-Fi phone. This phone is great, and one of the nice differentiators is about these phones is, one of the drawbacks is once you're used to all of these buttons, where we have a lot of buttons in desk phones, we found a simple way where you could push either the right or left of these control keys and have access to quick speed dials right then and there on these Wi-Fi phones that gives you broad, capabilities while not being tied to your desk all the time. And the super great thing about all of these endpoint units, they could all be managed by our free device management system that we provide to our partners that allow you to go ahead and auto deploy these things wherever you want to go. We've also worked with many of the IP-PBX manufacturers to also work with them, so it depends on which one you want to use. You can use their provisioning service or our provisioning service. Sometimes it's difficult to cover everything, but you can use this to supplement security or specific models that they don't necessarily support. So either way, we'll have you covered. Any questions on that, feel free to give me a call. Now I'm going to dive into some of the things that I'll talk about the promotions. And I'm a firm believer in really saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now, this may look like a bunch of graphs, but I'm going to explain this where you actually know very, very well. As I mentioned here, this is really a sort of graphical depiction on where our discount program begins. We have our V series, which is really our latest phones that we introduced into the marketplace. And currently, with this V series, this bottom row has to do with quantity. So if you have a quantity of 5 or more, then you can go ahead and we have this thing where you can go and have a per unit discount of $5 to $10 per unit that is rebated back to you through our distribution channel. And that'll always carry on throughout all of the different points. I'll have a slide or two that talks about this in the future. As well, something that we're introducing on September 1st, this is a brand new project registration program, so that if you have a larger project that requires 20 or more V-Series phones, we'll go ahead and actually provide a larger, actually 8% rebate or discount back to you starting from there moving forward for all the different phones that you need a minimum threshold of 20. Now, if you want to actually carry on, if you have 50 or more, we have a broad registration program that provides a stepping function where if you have 50, 200, or even 500 pieces or more, then you can go ahead and actually combine not only just the V6 series, but our XU products, our X7, our 210, even some of the security products that I talked about earlier, our hospitality, because very often, a lot of the solutions that you need don't necessarily fall into one bucket. You need a whole variety of things. And if you happen to combine all of these units and you have 50 or more, then all of a sudden you can get a discount of 2 to 4% at 50, or you can get a discount up to like between 3 and 5, between 2 and 5, and it goes up even further if you combine, say 20 of the A32s, 10 of the XUs or 10 of the V6s, which combines them all, and you have to go through a registration saying, hey, I want to register this program, and we'll go ahead and work with Microcom to pass these discounts over to you. This is a great way of taking a look at and also incentivizing you to really combine many of your different, types of solutions under one panel. So this describes the type of things that we have, and this is sort of everything that covers from a small, 5-unit order for the Vs, 20, 50. So we cover everything moving all the way forward, and this is really done on a per order basis, because very often we may encounter small SMB type of opportunities, but every now and then we can go ahead and meet, a medium to large size communities. And we actually have and armed our channel partners to be able to be forward and talk to you about these different type of programs. Any further questions, feel free to reach out to Julie or myself. I'll be more than happy to get into any of the details should anyone have any questions. And for the rare few that happen to be ITSPs, these are the people that have sort of a sustained demand. If you happen to be one of these large ITSP service providers that can sustain 500 units per quarter, we have a whole separate discount program that we can go ahead and provide for that. But the bulk of everybody that we speak to really fall into this category, because we realize most of the people out there have small businesses that you want to go ahead and upgrade and do all of these things. But we have a program that attaches to all of these different tiers depending on what you do. Okay? So having stated that, let's just go into what these V-Series products are. And what we've done is we really like to believe to be very, very basic and simple. What we've done with the V-Series is really combine all of the features that one can look out for and really bring forth in a few amount of SKUs, so that the confusion is less with you, as well as the solution selection is less for your end customer as well. It starts everything from a basic model using the V62. And when I say basic, it has the capability of PoE, doing all of these things, as well as being able to conference 6 people on one call. I mean, by all means, relative to its larger siblings, it's more of a basic phone, but not every application requires to spend an extra dollar to have these added features. One of the things that we had a demand for the V62 is, oh my goodness, don't you have a color screen version? Well, the answer is yes. We're going to come out with the V63, which actually takes the monochrome screen and brings it up to color, providing some of the basic features as well. And this is going to end up taking over, and this will come out sometime in Q4 calendar, of this year. So given like, October, November, December timeframe, you're going to see this introduced, and we'll have our distributors well stocked with all of these V63s coming forth. But the 62, 64, all the way up to the 67 is something that they're all armed with. The 67 is our only Android interface, which has a combined camera that has an added security feature where you could just block it for added security for those who like those type of things. The rest are really our basic Android or our Linux-based type of products here, which is also very popular. This is sort of the Linux version of this phone, which provides the ability to do a tilt screen. But the big advantage of all of these 4 phones here is that it contains integrated Wi-Fi. So even from a basic phone for the V64, you have an integrated Wi-Fi that's built into the phone, that's priced just right, to meet your marketplace needs without necessarily adding a lot of the added features that you may not need here. So that's what we have going forward. To make it a little more convenient for you, I could provide a soft copy. Just go and ask Julie. I can provide a PDF to her of this, and she can go ahead and send you a soft copy as well. We can go ahead and really provide this. I'm not going to go through this eye chart, but I want to provide this to you so it gives you some of the basic features of the different phones, everywhere from the top end V67 Android phone to all the way down below to the basic Linux-based phones moving forward. Of course, I also want to introduce, because there's always a demand for cordless phones as well, so I'll include the W611W, and this gives you some of the breadth of the features that it provides as well. One of the big pillars that Fanvil always provides is that not only do we provide products that have the Fanvil name, but very often people come to us and say, hey, what is the threshold of having a customized V series that has our markings? I get that question so often, and because it is one of the big pillars, we not only manufacture for ourselves, but we also manufacture for a lot of other companies as well. And so when things like faceplate, but some of the things up front is that it does require a 500-piece order up front where we have 30% down. There are some FCC or approval type of certifications that have to be done for a brand new customized model. And it's typically $6,000 for the V62 and 63 because with the FCC certification, these don't have Wi-Fi on them. But once you include the Wi-Fi models, the FCC models does increase to 10K. And these are the fees that we don't necessarily do. We're just kind of passing this through, letting you know the threshold it would take in terms of minimum order quantities, as well as a type of investment upfront that it will take to not only modify the silk screen up front, having all the FCC rules, modifying all the gift boxes and cartons, but as well as also loading up the software so when it boots up, it actually shows your company name versus our company name. This is something that really is attacked by the very large ITSPs, but I do want to provide that this threshold, many people selling into medium-sized and small-sized businesses sell enough so that if that demand reaches there, we'll be more than happy to walk down this path and give you the idea of how to go obtain that. As well as I spoke up front, there's also local tech support as well. We have a gentleman, Hector, who spent many years in this industry, and you can go ahead and reach him through either Skype or direct time. He's based on the East Coast time, and as well myself, I'm in the same West Coast time, similar to Microcom, and you can reach me through my contact information here. I'm in Northern California, Julie's in Southern California. Either way, I'm available. I'm usually up, and I can address everything from the East Coast to the West Coast time moving forward, should you have any questions. Now let's just go over some of the real basic things that I talked about. When I showed in the chart earlier about that small 5-piece, if you order 5 pieces or more, like based here on the V64, we'll give you a $5 rebate per unit. Or if you do 5 or more of the V67, we'll give you a $10 rebate. And these are the phones that are necessarily covered. That'll go from basically now all the way through December 31st. Now, if you want to increase this order and you want to go ahead and make an order of 20 or more, what this will do is that now we've increased it to really 8%, and we'll also include the V62. We haven't included the V63 yet because no one has it in stock today, but later on in the year, we will have that in spot on it, and we'll likely update it to really include that as part of the feature. I don't want to show something that we don't necessarily have in inventory, but these are the ones that have been selling very well for us, and it'll start September 1st all the way through the end of the year. So if you have 20 pieces or more and they happen to be this, we'll go ahead and pass these savings. How do you get the savings? Well, all you have to do is either through yourself or perhaps through Microcom, you can work with them to register this product by going to this particular website. If you don't have an account, establish a brand new one. Just say, I want to buy this, do this, and once all the criteria matches, we'll go ahead and pass these discounts all the way to you. As well, this is part of the registration project. Remember that big chart I talked about for anything that is 50 or more? So if you do 50 or more, we'll go ahead and look at XU, X7, hospitality series, even our door access things. If you combine all these things, if the combination of all the qualified units exceed these specific volumes, then the discounts will increase accordingly. I mentioned earlier that, when you have the V series of 2%, this will all of a sudden jump September 1st for an extra 8%. So somewhere down the line, these incentive programs are going to improve if you decide to adopt some of our brand new phones. Then, of course, people say, wow, I now deploy a whole different brand. How do I sort of kickstart? We realize that there is a kickstart program where you want to go ahead and test drive a car or test drive these vehicles. We put together an NFR program that allows these V64 and 65 bundle here, or you can bundle the 65 and 67. at a really set price that gives you really a 60% discount off of the MSRP. We don't necessarily have a warehouse, and our channel partners out there invest money so that they have stock in it. And this is something that allows them to sort of pass through without necessarily passing a sample on to you at minimal cost, so that you can go ahead and test drive to see whether or not these things match your requirements. As well, we even have a bundle for security. So you can match the door access phone that has an integrated camera with an indoor station that gives you a flat screen that you can mount on a wall and see who's at the door. And you can have buttons here that you can automatically open a relay to allow either the pizza delivery person, FedEx or UPS, what have you, through the door when you know that they're a welcome guest into your office or to your home, depending on what you want to do. That kind of really summarizes everything in a brief presentation. The only thing that I have here is just a quick thanks again for your precious time and moving forward. I have my contact information. I notice here that this is an international call, but you can contact Julie or myself, which my contact is on the first slide here, and you can feel free to contact me as well. She can give you a soft copy of this so that you have a soft copy as well. Just let her know. I'll go ahead and send her a PDF, and this is my contact as well for your particular reference. Again, I'll pass the baton back to Julie. I'll be open for any Q's and A's moving forward from here.
Thank you very much, Tommy. Appreciate that. And your presentation is absolutely wonderful. So happy to hear all of this today. And of course, we do have questions for you. Let's get started with the first one. Here we go. How does Linkville address security and privacy concerns related to communication?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt that even SIP alone has many security protocols like TLS, just over across the SIP as well. You can doubly secure many of our channels because many of our phones support VPN channels as well, like OpenVPN, that allows a secure tunnel between you as well as whatever bank institutions that have a high concern of security. With regard to Linkville, Linkville is something that we adopt because Wi-Fi is something that everybody has adopted. And Wi-Fi, as you know, has many different security protocols, of which we bring those security protocols and adopt those standards as well. So whether you open your PC, whether you open your mobile phone, or perhaps a Wi-Fi, we make sure that we support all the security that's available on Wi-Fi via 802.11, whether it's A, B, C, etc., so that your call goes through and is encrypted the same way as you're talking to your PC or your mobile phone that's connected to your Wi-Fi channel. So with Linkville, Wi-Fi is one of the channels. We have other gateways that we're going to introduce shortly that takes advantage of long-distance walkie-talkies. Many people in security, when you walk into a campus or perhaps a hotel, they're always walking around with that walkie-talkie handle on their, say suspenders or something like that that's hanging. That's one-way communication. We've developed a gateway that's capable of communicating SIP across that interface, and then we're going to be introducing that as well. And that's a whole separate interface of which we adopt all the security protocols that is responsible within SIP or the Wi-Fi infrastructure that supports as well.
Tommy, thank you so much for that. Greatly appreciate it. Let's go on to the next question. Here we go. What features does the Fanvil cloud system offer for remote device management and monitoring?
Absolutely. We actually have on YouTube some of the how to do. To give you an idea, that monitoring system not only allows the integrator, the partner, or even the service provider, you can go ahead and click on a cloud. You can set up subdivisions or sub-console. If you were to monitor, say, 15 accounts that you actually manage in the field, you can identify all of those different accounts that you've actually managed, and that this will tell you which endpoints are up, which endpoints are down. You can also tell if you needed to do a firmware upgrade, you can actually designate and select those specific endpoints, put up the golden version of the new firmware that you want to do, and schedule auto deployment, moving out all the way throughout so that you can manage upgrades. You could also manage how to provision these things, because associated with all of these endpoints is a SIP template. You know, what is a template? A template is something that people need to kind of put together to make provisioning very, very easy. So take, for example, if you happen to be located in the central region, all you really care about in configuring these devices is you have to have all the devices, when they power up, to register to the central time zone. It'll go ahead and configure all of these items to reach a central time zone so that you don't have to do it manually. The whole idea is it saves you time. And this is done by taking the box, the device right out of the box. It takes a look at who owns it. If you happen to have a device manager, it'll give you full control on whoever does this. Or what that redirection service does is that if you happen to have this managed by a third-party cloud provider, some of the cloud providers have auto provisioning for Fanvil devices as well. You could point it to them so that they will go ahead and provide their own standard templates and use Fanvil to go ahead and auto deploy. The whole idea is that it saves you time, and it's something that we provide to our partners free of charge. How do you get it? You can contact myself by sending me an email or giving me a call, and send me the email that you want to do. Sometimes some people use support at whatever your company name is, so that we'll go ahead and use that as a username, and we'll send you an activation link so you can really kick it around and see whether or not something like that is for you, and you can do that entirely free of charge.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that information, Tommy. Let's go on to the next question. Yes, thanks. Okay, here we go. What kind of analytics and reporting capabilities does the Fanvil cloud system provide?
Yeah, the cloud system, I forgot there's an acronym out there that actually you can measure throughput on the phones, so that there are some diagnostics where you can actually run, gosh, I forgot that thing, my age is catching up to me, but you can tell whether or not it's on, off. You can actually do remote resets to specific phones. But from a performance perspective, you can actually run diagnostics, which actually can tell you what type of performance level that particular endpoint is doing, so that you can tell whether or not there's actual live communication. And if you do have MOS scores is what I'm thinking about. You can measure MOS and all these type of things, so that it gives you the idea of being able to measure performance. And you can probably tell if something's going to go wrong well before your partners do at that case. So those are a few of the things. I don't know every single feature, but all of the capabilities of that, you can actually go to the Fanvil website, go to support, download, and you can actually see the user manual for our cloud system on that, and you can read through all of the capabilities on your own if that's something that you're interested in. Or you can just get down to it and really just establish a simple lab environment in your home lab or in your corporate lab, and just deploy a single phone. Because once you're capable of deploying one phone, there is no difference between deploying one phone and 500 phones moving forward. It'll be all done automatically.
Excellent. Thank you for that valuable information, Tommy. We got a few more questions. Next one. Can you provide some insights into the capability of Fanvil's SIP phones with various VoIP platforms and PBX systems?
Yeah, we devote a mega amount of resources to make sure that with all of our SIP interfaces, as I talked about on the first slide, all of these phones, the endpoints, to make sure that we take a look at all of the top providers out there. Yeah, are we compatible with the Cisco BroadSofts, the NetSapiens, Crescendo, all of the major providers, Vodia, all of these things, Epigee. I mean, just to name a few, Asterix, FreeSwitch platforms, all of these different types of platforms are out there. We have a whole list that provides a whole list, and many of those things, that's a dynamic list because we're adding newcomers all the time. And what we can do is we want to make sure that all of that upfront compatibility is done in the labs before we actually bring these things into the marketplace, so that you can be sure when you look at the menu of these PBX manufacturers, you actually see, there's the Fanvil XYZ model number. You can go ahead and click on it, and that assures that, you know, these things would be stable under those environments.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Next question here for you. Are there any upcoming features, updates, or products in the pipeline for Linkville, Fanvil Cloud Systems, or SIP phones?
Absolutely. As I shared with this audience today, the V series have grown a lot in popularity, and similar to how our televisions operate, once clients are used to color screen, they'll never go back to monochrome. And as a result of it, when we first introduced the V series in monochrome, we had huge demand saying, hey, can you go ahead and develop a color one just for the baseline? And we heard that feedback, so we've decided to do that with the V63. We'll actually have that in volume production here in our channels, probably effective Q4 of this calendar year. Right now, we just got samples so that you can actually kick around a few samples if you're interested, but we'll actually have volume production beginning in the October-November timeframe. In terms of Linkville, I actually shared on some previous slides that I've done with Microcom in the past that actually show not only are we doing Wi-Fi and several different flavors of Wi-Fi. The W611W happens to be our ruggedized phone, but we also have a commercialized Wi-Fi phone as well. And as well, I also talked about Linkville on that walkie-talkie connection. We actually call it a ROIP gateway, of which that will also address bringing SIP capable to talking with security people in the walkie-talkies. Why is that important? Because when people walk around with these walkie-talkies, they spend like close to $1,000 per unit, so that the only people that can talk to them is somebody with another walkie-talkie or behind that gateway. What the SIP gateway allows people to do is that the person who talks on a SIP phone, whether it's the front desk, security, or any user given the capabilities, can now contact security directly or vice versa. And we're not inventing anything new. It just expands that level of capability of people talking on that wireless interface to speak in a much wider audience for those who need to access them. And this is not brand new technology, but we're expanding the branches so that now anybody with a SIP interface can now talk to somebody with the walkie-talkie without having to buy another, expensive endpoint, wireless endpoint as a walkie-talkie, so that it's only limited to one person versus having every single person giving access to that channel. So those are the things that we have planned for Linkville moving forward in terms of wireless technology.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Looking forward to touching on that again in the future for future webinars. Absolutely. Last question here for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about your rebate program?
Absolutely. With the rebate program, what happens is that when you go into, let me see if I could get into this thing. Okay, here we go. Like if you get into this rebate program, when I shared it, you can go right here on our website, okay? And this could be done by you, the integrator, and just register saying, I got this project, it's gonna have either 20 or 50 of these things, and you just outline it. And what will happen is that we'll work through our distribution channel to make sure that that this is a valid rebate project or that this qualifies for. We'll issue an approval, and then once we issue an approval, this will all of a sudden go down, trickle through, so that all of a sudden Microcom will have the rebates necessary to entertain further discounts onto you. So it is a trickle down. The great news is that you don't have to wait overnight. Myself, I can go ahead and take a look as these things pop up, and you can get real-time feedback when you have these things done. So, this is a pretty quick turnaround, and, you can go on our web. In fact, you can go on our main website, go to partners, and when you go to partners, you'll see something called FPRS, which is really the Fanvil project registration site. And that will allow you to just, establish an account, register for these things, and then we'll determine, and then for that one project, that could influence the type of quotation that you would get from our channel partners, whether or not, these rebates do happen. And that can really address things like, hey, you have a certain percentage off, that can cover your shipping costs or do whatever. These are the type of benefits that hopefully help reduce your cost of doing business.
Thank you, Tommy. And I do have one last question for you. I know I said that before, but we got
That's
one more
okay.
good one here. Thank you so much. Can you touch again on some upcoming promotions that perhaps our sales team can relay to some customers? Can you go over again what's coming up in the near future with Fanvil's promotions?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of summarized many of the things that I have. I always like to use, pictures worth everything really that starts with 5. Once you're able to order 5 or more, then you have to, that's sort of the trigger point where you say, something might apply. What does it apply? Well, in this case, where it's below, we're trying to highlight our brand new series of phone, which is our V. And something that's effective first is that we'll provide an off the top an 8% discount, through this, and this will, in essence, cover many of the overhead costs that many of our integrators might end up facing. Then you have programs that hit 20 or 50 or higher, and that's where when you go 50 or higher, then you can talk about the combination of many of the different other programs, so that if you decide to add them all, they happen to be 50 or more, then by definition, you'll be able to entitle yourself for additional discounts. And the more you get, obviously, the more discounts that you'll end up having. So anywhere from really 5 or above really addresses most of the marketplace. Every now and then we might get a trickle of an ITSP, but most of the cases, like 95% of the time, a lot of it all hovers right around here, which is where the sweet spot is for most transactions.
Tommy, thank you so much for answering all those questions for us today.
No
And
problem.
thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar. Yes. And if anyone has any further questions, of course, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown today, not only can I get a PDF from Tommy, but we can always go to our Microcom YouTube channel later, because I will post it there. Thank you so much. And again, this is the best way to view everything again for your reference. Everybody have a fantastic day. Tommy, until next time, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you,
Everybody.
Julie. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Sign off to everyone. Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye. Stay healthy.
Bye-bye.